In case you haven't noticed, Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker is due out in November 2021, making it the 4th expansion within Square's long-running MMO. And I'm positive there are a few number of curious onlookers wondering if it is worth giving a go. Well, hopefully this video will help you out in answering that question. Even though my bread and butter are JRPGs and more specifically the Trails games, I started playing Final Fantasy XIV just over a year ago as I was looking for a new MMO to rekindle that flame that was lost since Wrath of the Lich King. And as such, I am by no means a veteran of this game. The only accolades I have are that I have one max level combat job and I have completed the main story up till patch 5.5. So I still consider myself to be a newcomer. Despite that though, I feel I can regale potential new players with my experiences and why I believe Final Fantasy XIV is the best MMO on offer at this point in time. I will also say that my discussion of the game will be general in nature, no spoilers or anything like that, just a viewpoint from a very satisfied player. Let's have a dive into the world of Eorzea. Now, when you first delve into the game, it's not going to look all that different to what you're used to. Create your character from a selection of races, Lalafels unite, enter the world and get started. However, one of the areas where Final Fantasy XIV shines will rear its head relatively quickly, and that is in its main story questline. Now, you can skip some elements of the story, but I would strongly suggest not to do that. On top of being the best way to level, Final Fantasy as a series holds some of the most compelling narratives around, and it's no different for 14. Now I know what some people will say,
"Who plays an MMO for the story?"
But I'm not joking, the main narrative quality is strong overall. I can't deny that it shows its limitations at times, most noticeably in some of the cutscenes, and it does start slowly in the base game A Realm Reborn, but in my opinion it does pick up at around the level 30 mark and then it just goes from strength to strength. The latter half of A Realm Reborn is great, Heaven's Ward is brilliant, Stormblood has plentiful great moments, and Shadowbringers, from my perspective, is the best of the lot. And I think what really props up Final Fantasy XIV's story, on top of the quality narrative, are the wide array of cast members. Because of the longevity of the story, you'll be bumping into a lot of familiar faces from expansion to expansion, and each of these individuals are great. They've all got unique personalities, there's humorous moments, camaraderie, just as you would expect from a Final Fantasy game. But it's not just your NPC comrades who make this journey so excellent. I also have to give props to the game for doing something that many other MMOs failed at. It's made me feel attached to my character. Because your character is a central figure in the story and because you see cutscenes with them involved on countless occasions, it really adds to that immersion that you are making a difference in this world, and you see that impact quest by quest. But that is not the only reason why I feel a connection. Another factor that contributes to this is that you don't really need to have an alt. Now, no doubt some players do have alts for weekly lockouts, extra convenience, or simply playing with their friends on different data centers, but generally, at least in my case, I would create an alt character if I wanted to play a different class. Final Fantasy XIV alleviates that problem as you can pretty much play everything on one character. There are a multitude of jobs available for both crafting and combat, and you're free to try them all. Had enough of DPS for one night? Switch over to healer for an evening. Not feeling the draw of dungeons? Go for a round of fishing. And each job comes not only with its own unique quest chain giving you a mini story to enjoy as you level up, but each one plays noticeably different, especially the combat jobs. And since we're touching on combat, let's dive into that real quick. It's a typical tab target model, but from my perspective, Square have taken that system and refined it to a very high level. The combat starts intentionally slow, breaking you into the role of your job and allowing you to gradually learn your rotations as you go, so there's a sense of progression there which you do need in an MMO. But learning your rotation is only one half of the battle. Figuring out how to utilise it to its fullest is the tricky part. It's a case of simple to learn but difficult to master. As you would expect, many enemies that you face, bosses in particular, have unique mechanics, and trying to keep track of your rotation on the fly is more demanding than it seems. I play a monk mainly, and making sure that I'm tracking cooldowns, going through my combo, keeping damage buffs up, nullifying directional damage mitigation if I can't get in the right position, there's a lot to keep note of. And I do want to give particular mention to the boss mechanics. Though there is admittedly overlap between movesets and the earlier ones are fairly simple, some of them, especially in the two later expansions, are so creative, and it's one of the key factors as to why I've yet to get bored with the game. The combat is very gratifying overall, at least in the eyes of a melee DPS. But again, like I said before, if you're not feeling DPS for a day, you can switch over to a tank or healer job, or if you're simply not in the mood to do a daily dungeon, you can just take a day off and craft or chill in the Golden Saucer. There is so much choice available to the player, piles of content to get stuck into, that there's pretty much something for everyone in this game, and I feel that is one of Final Fantasy XIV's greatest strengths. Whether you're a hardcore endgame player, someone who likes to goof around, or someone who puts high importance on the way they look, I believe that Final Fantasy XIV pretty much caters to near on every type of player. Now, admittedly, I can't speak for PvP as I've never tried it, and the reception it gets is mixed from the player base, but I won't put my opinion out there simply because I have nothing to base it on. But what I will say is that from the content I have got involved in, which are mainly daily roulette, 24-man raids, and the wide array of minigames, I have found it all to be very enjoyable, especially with the multitude of references to the Final Fantasy series that are sprinkled throughout the world. And I feel that the references in particular should be mentioned because they add a certain flavour to your experience. It feels like a celebration of Final Fantasy as a whole. Yes, this game easily stands on its own as a quality title, but I can't deny that it is awesome to see nods to the wider series dotted all over the place. I'm not a veteran of Final Fantasy, I mean I've only played 3 of the mainline games, but these were great even for me to bump into periodically. Whether they be items you can collect, certain types of enemies synonymous with the varying universes, or popular minigames like Triple Triad, there's just a bunch to find. And what is really cool is that Square even took this to the next level by incorporating it into the main story. Of course, I will not say anything here lest I spoil the surprise should you wish to see it for yourself, but man, even for someone who hasn't played the games that this moment references, it was just so cool to be a part of, not to mention being a fitting challenge on top of that, since it is one of the final moments in the Shadowbringers expansion. And it's not just Final Fantasy that is given some love here, for every now and then you do get a collaboration with other works from Square Enix, something that has recently occurred over the past few patches in Shadowbringers in fact. Again, not gonna say too much here as the story for this quest chain is awesome, but all I can say is that they went all out on these 3 raids. The spectacle, the bosses, the environments, the music, it's all just top tier stuff. And since we are mentioning the soundtrack, let's give that a brief moment in the spotlight too, because it deserves it. Many of my frequent viewers will know how much importance I put on a solid soundtrack. It greatly enhances my personal experience if the music accompanying the journey is of a high standard, hence why I love all things Neon Falcon. That praise for an amazing soundtrack easily extends to Final Fantasy XIV too. The music is consistently strong throughout the base game and the expansions, but especially in Shadowbringers. Oh my god. The music in Shadowbringers is just brilliant. It really pumps you up for the fights, whether they be dungeon bosses, raid bosses, or just the dungeon themes themselves. It's without question the best music I've ever heard from an MMO, there is no doubting that for me, and it's a welcoming accompaniment to your long journey in Eorzea. However, despite all of the praise I've levelled at Final Fantasy XIV and how it basically has the foundation to be the best MMO out there, no online game can survive without its lifeblood. And that sustenance is the community. We hear it many times how a game is excellent at its core but is so often held back by a toxic atmosphere. It's just not a nice place to be at times. And naturally, with so many people in one game, you're gonna meet some people you'd rather see the back of. And yes, there are definitely people who I have played with in Final Fantasy XIV who I would happily slap around the head, but I could count those individuals on one hand. No joke, from the people I have played with, whether it be random dungeons or the like, this has got to be the friendliest online community I have ever been a part of. As a new player especially, I was put into something called a novice network, where me and other so-called sprouts, indicated by the sprout icon next to your name when you first start playing, would be able to ask questions of more experienced players who choose to be mentors, and every question I asked, no matter how seemingly dumb, was answered without patronisation. I never felt intimidated asking anything in this game. No doubt there are going to be people who disagree with me on this, but I can only go off my own experiences, and the vast majority of people I have encountered in-game were just really approachable players. I cannot fault the experience I've had in terms of being exposed to the community and learning about the game from the ground up, and I hope that should you choose to join, you'll also get the same sort of welcome I did. And finally, It's not just the player base that is great here, there is also another group who deserve plaudits. And it's a team that are very important, so important in fact that without them, we would not have an MMO like this to play. That's right, I want to give a mention to the developers themselves. Of course, many people know the story surrounding the original Final Fantasy XIV, how it was so bad that it was canonically destroyed and rebuilt from the ground up, thus arising as a realm reborn in 2013. And shortly after, it quickly became one of the great video game revivals thanks to passionate individuals like Yoshi P, the game's current director. But it's no fluke how Final Fantasy XIV came back from the dead. It's clear that this development team are passionate about their game, they listen to their fans and are constantly looking to make Final Fantasy XIV the best experience possible. And if you have any doubt of that determination, then look no further than this year's Digital Fan Fest, which took place last weekend in fact. In a particularly heartwarming segment, the game's lead composer and sound director Masayoshi Sokan revealed that he had been battling cancer for months since 2020, but he chose not to say anything to the development team as he didn't want them to worry about him. And from his hospital bed, let me emphasize that again, from his hospital bed, he created one of my personal favourite songs in the game. That is unbelievable dedication, and a representation of the strength of character of these individuals. Not only are they very talented people, they are also amazing people in general. And you could see how tightly knit they all are during that event, it was clear for everyone to see. And there's the thing, I am happy to pay a monthly subscription for a game like this where the developers are so clearly passionate about their creation. They are not there to exploit their fanbase, they are not there to simply take your money and run off into the sunset. The respect between player base and developer team is not mutually exclusive, it's two sides of the same coin, one cannot exist without the other. That is special. And it's no wonder that a relationship like this has birthed what, in my mind, is the best MMO on offer. And there it is guys, my experience with Final Fantasy XIV as a newcomer, and I hope it's given you an idea as to why I dedicate a fair amount of my free time to the game. I also wish that it's given you the urge to potentially give the game a go yourself if you've been on the fence. And really, you've got nothing to lose from doing so as it's all free up till the end of Heaven's Ward, which is well over 80 hours worth of content if you're just focusing on the main story. I cannot express this enough, Final Fantasy XIV is an excellent game through and through, and I can't wait to see where it goes next. Happy travels, Warriors of Light.